Hi, this is Jay Pryor again with Jay Pryor Consulting. Thanks again for joining me. I'm here to serve you around all things gender nonconforming and transgender, and anything that can serve you really around the whole gender dynamics, especially for those of you who are boomers and late Gen Xers. I'm over 50, and so I really understand that navigating this new world of gender dynamics and gender nonconforming can be a little confusing. So today I want to talk about unconscious bias and or unconscious bias training. I hope that you, if you have not had this sort of training, that you will go get some of this training and or bring that in. You can give us a call. We can help you serve you around this. The idea behind unconscious and or implicit bias training is having you start to understand that all of us have it, like that all of us have an implicit bias, and that it is just wired up in us, right? It's just natural. It's just in there. And so, for example, as soon as people find out I'm from Kansas, right, one of the first things they think is The Wizard of Oz or Dorothy, or they say something to me like, oh, you're not in Kansas anymore. Now, that's a great example of implicit bias, right? Because it's just automatically there. Just always already there, right? So it's important to get yourself trained on that. But more importantly, to me, what I know, and I've been doing this personal development work for years and years and years, and I've been teaching it, and I've been waking people up and getting them to a new level of consciousness for years. And what I know is if you don't continue to flex your muscle around that, you don't create environments that have you present to that conversation, you'll go unconscious in about 3 days. It takes about 3 days for a human being to experience a workshop or any kind of training and be woke up to it, and then for them to go completely back to their normal patterns, right? What we know as personal development trainers, educators, is that knowing things never makes a difference, right? Just knowing that you have implicit bias, just knowing that it's there, really rarely is ever going to make a difference. What makes a difference is practicing, flexing our muscle, creating an environment where we can actually have real conversations about this kind of thing. That's what creating culture, and a culture that is an inclusive culture is a culture where implicit bias and unconscious bias is something people understand, some people know about, and that there's an opportunity to continue having those conversations. So if you're someone who's in charge of a culture, you're a CEO, you're an executive, even if you're a HR person who's in charge of this, this is an important conversation for you to continue to have, to get yourself trained in unconscious bias, understand the neuroscience behind bias, and more importantly, to continue to have those conversations, right? To make that part of your culture. And that's part of, like, when we go into a company, that's part of what we do, is we make it part of the culture, right? So come to us if that's, if that will serve you. And if you want to do it on your own, great. My point is, don't stop with one training. Like, you can't just get one training in unconscious bias and think, I checked that box, right? If you're just checking a box, it's not going to serve you, and it's not going to work long term. It's not sustainable, okay? What's sustainable is an ongoing conversation of this, in a culture that actually really is willing to address their bias and to check themselves on it. So, again, Jay Pryor Consulting. As always, thanks for joining me.